Are you drowning in debt? Do you cringe every time the phone rings because it's probably bill collectors? Up next on Real Life, one of our debt-crunched viewers gets a financial makeover from Scott Bilker. Luis Acevedo owns a home, has a daughter in high school, and earns a good salary, about $30,000 a year. But his monthly payments, including mortgage, student loan, and credit card debt, total up to $23.50, and his monthly take-home equals $2,500. Luis has no room for error and only $150 a month for groceries, gasoline, or any other discretionary spending. Luis Acevedo, thank you for coming and sharing your story. Hopefully today we will be able to start you on the path to financial wellness. Let's take a closer look at your finances. Okay, if that's really the truth, you have like $150 discretionary spending money.
And hopefully nothing happens in between.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully nothing breaks down. So how did we get to this point? You've got a house, so you have a mortgage.
Yes.
How much debt is that? How much is the mortgage?
About $25,000.
$25,000 on that.
Yes.
You also have pretty large student loans, right?
Yes.
That's also about $25,000. You have some credit card debt, right? But it didn't look like a whole lot. How much would you estimate in credit card debt?
I would say about $2,500.
So okay, which is not
bad.
Not an enormous amount. I mean, we've talked to people with far higher credit card debt, but when you add the whole thing up, you have no place to go.
No.
So how did you get there? Was this over time? Of course, you've had the student loans for a while.
For a while, sure.
Yeah.
I was studying at that time. Then I decided to, buy a place for myself. And then starting with the debt, credit card debt, and a long time, it has grown up. Sometimes we don't realize what good debt and bad debt is, and maybe trying to do payments, right on time. So things start sliding on the side. Well,
let's talk about that a little bit. Are you finding it hard to make your minimum monthly payments?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you do about that? Do you let it slide? You let one slide each month or something?
Sometimes,
what do you do?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to play the game and decide which one is the most urgent at that point.
And I want to ask you, have you talked to any of the people to whom you owe loans when you are late? What do you do about that?
Sometimes I do. If it's something that I cannot stop, I have to approach it. But I think sometimes fear takes its time. Fear will make you stop. Try not to confront the problem. And I think that's what we have to, I have to work on. So
you've kind of had your head in the sand.
Yes.
You happen to be watching our show.
Yes.
Right at the end of the show, I think it was. You tuned in and saw this little promo we did about doing a financial makeover for somebody. Had you done anything on your own to try to improve your financial picture?
Well, I have tried to make a budget, but sometimes it's very tough to follow it because something happens then.
Right. You just don't have any flexibility in that budget, right?
Exactly. One of the things that I was thinking, in terms of I haven't put nothing on paper, and sometimes because you're afraid, to confront how bad is bad. Exactly. So I chose to do that and see how bad it was. It was time to.
You put it on paper.
Yes. Yes. And it wasn't that good.
It wasn't that good. Yeah. Well, you have about $80,000 in debt, and we should point out that some of that is what I would consider very good debt, which is a mortgage payment.
Yes.
Because that's tax deductible, right?
Yes.
Your interest.
Correct.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break. Coming up, we will have our debt makeover for Luis, courtesy of debt management expert Scott Bilker. So stay tuned to find out. We'll be right back.
You're watching Real Life, awarded for broadcasting excellence with the prestigious 2001 Emmy Award. CN8, now more than ever. Tune in, find out.
In 1991, the country was spending 12.6% of disposable income on household debt. Now, as of October 2001, the ratio now stands at 14.1%, which is awfully close to the 15% level that financial pros flag as the line between having and managing debt and having a debt problem. Okay, welcome back to Real Life. We have been talking with Luis Acevedo, who, as so many Americans do, is living paycheck to paycheck while credit card debt, other debt, bills mount up. But Luis, you know, you're in luck. With us is Scott Bilker, author of the book Credit Card and Debt Management. And Scott is here to give Luis a debt makeover, courtesy of your website, debtsmart.com. Okay, we're going to take another look right now at Luis's financial situation monthly, okay? A net salary of $2,512.81 per month, which is the equivalent of $30,153 per year, which is a good salary. Luis's monthly bill payments, though, look at this, $2,349 a month, with an outstanding balance of $65,168. And Luis has other outstanding debts of a little more than $15,000 for a total of $80,000 in debts.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Well, the good news is that some of that $80,000 in debts are also his mortgage, like you were mentioning before.
We love mortgage. Yeah. Mortgage is good.
Yeah, and it's going to be good in Luis's case too, because he's looking into refinancing on that equity and paying off some debt with that. So that's very good. But you know, with those high monthly bills and the income, which is almost equivalent to it, there's just not much left over.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a situation a lot of people are in, and something has to give. There's only so much that you can pay towards each bill.
Okay, so we are going to go through this financial makeover process, starting with your first category of what you ought to do when you are in financial pain. Get your head out of the sand, Luis, and we are going to talk about getting organized, okay?
Yes, getting organized.
First thing, get all the details for each bill listed in tables in a spreadsheet or table format, right? Which is something Luis has finally started to do, right? Luis, you didn't want to know before.
Oh, yes.
But you got to know.
Yeah, well, you know, it makes it a lot easier because you can see all the debts on one single page. So it's important to really get that into a table. And also, actually, Luis faxed over a lot of that stuff, so I've already done that. And that's in the debt makeover package that I'm going to give to him, actually. I have a software for him and the entire debt makeover that's on here, and also my book and a low interest rate bank list, but we'll talk about all that stuff.
Okay, so the first thing, you really have to list everything you owe. Now, you want to list the total and probably also your monthly payment.
Yes.
Right?
Well, yeah, the important things to know on that list are the name of the place that you owe money to, the name of the debt, the type it is, I mean, whether it's a mortgage or a credit card, what's the outstanding balance, how much available credit you have. Now, that's very important because if you have available credit, you can add up that column and see what you can do to transfer balances from one to the other.
Okay, aiming for, because I've been debt smart too, I've been listening to you, Scott, you're aiming for the lowest interest rate.
Right, you want to get all those debts down. So once everything's on the spreadsheet, you're going to have a good look at that, and that's already been done in this case, so it's a great starting point. Okay,
another thing that you recommend doing, which is really wise, get a copy of your credit report and your FICO score. You're going to tell me what that is at the website myfico.com, www.myfico.com. So what's the FICO?
The FICO is the Fair Isaac score, and that's the number that a lot of mortgage bankers use to determine if you're going to get like a second mortgage or first mortgage.
Right.
And that's a very important number because if it's the lower it is, the more expensive your interest rate is going to become. So they're going to give you an entire credit report. I got one for myself, actually, and as you know, I have a lot of credit cards.
Yeah.
But still, my FICO score is very high because of being, you know, good at credit card and debt management.
Yeah.
So what Luis is going to do is once he gets that, he can repair some problems that might be there. In fact, when we were talking earlier, there was a problem of like 2 accounts that he saw on another credit report, and that would have to be taken care of.
First, there could be errors.
Yes.
On the credit report, and secondly, certainly when you go for a mortgage, you have to explain every problem.
Yes.
So
you'd want to get rid of that.
Do it now. Okay. Now, your third tip is to start using financial software.
Right.
which so many of us can do. And we should point out, you're an electronics professor.
Yeah.
So computers are your like middle name. Quicken and No Bills, you like those?
Yes,
programs.
and I have a copy of the No Bills with me right here.
Okay.
And Quicken will allow you to track all your spending so you can see it. Now, you know, my degree is in electrical engineering. That's what I went to school for. So I understand what it's like to be an engineer. And when I was in school, before I got involved with credit cards,
Yeah. Before you found your true calling, yeah, go ahead.
you know, yeah, by inspiration or desperation, but desperation in my case, I never used Quicken. I was just so into engineering. But then when I had to turn to finance, that's when I started to learn about saving money on my credit cards. So I can understand why a lot of my engineering friends didn't use Quicken. So I introduced them to a lot of people.
So the software helps.
It's great.
I want to quickly go through some other organizing principles here when you're starting to do your own financial makeover. Reorganize your financial paper files. Get that in order. Build your general strategy. What is it you want to do with your money? Reduce, how are you going to reduce your debt? Lower your payments so that you can survive with minimum payments at the lowest possible interest rate.
Yeah, that's important, especially in this case.
Yes.
Because what Lewis will have to do is, because the monthly income doesn't add up to all the bills,
Yeah.
he's going to have to become very efficient at his debts, pay as much as he can, but he's not really going to make much progress on that principle, but we don't want to pay a lot in interest payments.
Right.
So the day will come when he makes more money, and that's going to happen. He's going to school to get his PhD, and that's going to give him more income in the future. So to keep the cost of the debt low now,
right.
And then when the future comes, he'll have the money.
Income. Okay, I want to quickly go through the other strategies for getting organized. Estimate your payoff time or the length of a bankruptcy if you have to go to bankruptcy, which Lewis does not have to do, hopefully. Evaluate your car situation. Maybe you can get rid of a car payment or a car. And also develop a step-by-step plan for clearing your debt. Okay, we are going to go to break. We will be back with more on Lewis's financial makeover and tips for your own financial makeover. So stick with us. Coming up on Real Life on Tuesday, are you drowning in debt? Scott Bilker will be here once again, this time taking your phone calls and answering your questions about paying down your credit cards and other bills. On Wednesday, Generating Hope, we will meet Denny Cipollini, whose legs were severed in a car accident. One was successfully reattached. Against all the odds, he taught himself to walk, to run again, and he's now biking and hiking from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia for charity. Welcome back to Real Life. Our topic today, drowning in debt. My guests are Luis Acevedo, who is getting a debt makeover courtesy of DebtSmart.com, and Scott Bilker, author of Low Interest Rate Special Report. Okay, once again, Lewis's situation, he's an electronics professor, he's going for his PhD, he owns a home, he's got a daughter graduating high school, and we were just talking about that during break, tuition bills, but his take-home pay is about $2,500 a month, $30,000 a year, but his monthly payments equal $2,350. Okay, we talked initially, last segment, Scott, about getting organized, tracking your expenses, organizing your paperwork. But in addition to getting organized, you really have to figure out how you can strategize, and you have to go talk to the people who've loaned you money, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, so what are some of the things Lewis has to do?
Okay, well, the major component now is, after getting organized, is to use strategies to reduce the cost of debt. And the start there would be to contact the banks about any of those late fees and over-limit fees. They charge them instantly, even if you're 1 day late.
Right.
And the problem is, say you're close to your limit, which, you know, some of those are over-limit now, but you're probably just close to the limit, then you're late one time, and the late fee makes you over the limit,
right.
So now you get the late fee and the over-limit fee, and it just keeps going and going.
So do you get a lot of that, Lewis?
Yes.
So the late fee, and they're really onerous, right? The
yes.
late fees are like $15, $20?
Going up.
25.
Wow, right, okay.
Oh yeah, if you read
just for being 1 day late.
Yes.
So, but now, are the credit cards going to say, oh, we'll rescind the late fee? What are they going to do?
My personal experience is, 99% of the time they will remove those late fees, and almost 100% of the time, well, that is almost 100%, but when it's their first offense, they'll certainly remove it. Now, have you ever called and done that before?
No.
Oh, then you should definitely be able to get some of those removed, so that's good news. And what you'll do there is also, while you have them on the phone, you'll want to do other things too, like try to get your limit raised. That way you're not going to be over the limit. So right now, if you're $50 over, ask them to raise your limit. Some may raise your limit, some will not, but let them know that, look, you're going to either raise my limit or I'm going to transfer my balance out of there and there'll be no balance. And if I can't do it today, I will do it as soon as I can. So either you can keep me as a customer now for a while or I'm gone. And that's really how you have to play with these banks.
Okay, now you've talked frequently about these 0% offers that very often a credit card company trying to get your business will say, we'll give you 0% on whatever you transfer, maybe as long as a year. But is somebody who's so near his limits in credit card going to get those offers? Do you get those offers? Do you get offers
really.
for good interest rates? No. So what does he do?
He's going to have to try to still apply for those low rate offers. And I brought with me my special report on those low interest rate banks to try to apply. Call them anyway. Doesn't matter. Try to apply. Some of them might give you a credit card with a better rate than you have now. Some of your credit cards like that. That one card is like 30%, which is,
oh my Lord,
that's just
usurious, as they say.
Out of hand.
Yeah, really.
So any credit card that's better than 30 is better. So you might apply for one of these low rate cards and they don't give it to you. They'll give you 19%. Transfer your balance, teach that 30% card a lesson, and then it won't be long before they're sending you an offer. Over time, once you start to put your plan into place and attack these things one at a time, the way it's laid out in the plan that we developed, you'll be able to negotiate for better terms later on. And I mean like 6 months, no later than that.
Okay, now let's talk about mortgage and refinancing the mortgage. What's your mortgage rate?
About 11%.
That's a pretty damn high mortgage rate.
That is pretty high.
Given the fact that mortgage, they're still around 7, aren't they?
That's correct. Yeah,
okay, so did you ever think about refinancing?
Yes, I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to see if I can get a lower rate.
Okay, but see, part of the problem, right, is he having a problem because of his general credit card situation or debt situation?
Yeah, it could be a problem. It just might not mean he's going to get a 7% rate.
Yeah.
But anything better than 11 is good. But also
save him monthly.
Exactly.
On the monthly payments, and maybe he can refinance. How long have you had the house?
About 5 years.
Okay, so he probably has some equity.
He definitely does.
That you could use then, right, to pay off some of his nut, his $80,000 debt nut. One other thing I want to talk about before we go to break. These student loans, what can you do with student loans?
There are definitely some options that he has potential for, either having it deferred or getting a forbearance on student loans. And I included on the debt makeover disc all information from the online websites at Direct Loans to apply for those programs. It's very possible that he can get like the loan deferred, where they'll pay the interest on it for a while, and you won't have to make any payments, but that interest might build. Or you might be able to just pay the interest on the loan for a while. You'll have to look into that.
So reducing that monthly payment, which I get, how much is that for the student loans?
Almost $400 a month.
That's a lot of money. Okay, we're going to go to break. We will be back to wrap up our financial makeover, so stick with us. Next time on Real Life, are you having trouble paying down or managing your debt? Scott Bilker will be here again tomorrow to take your phone calls and give you personal advice, so tune in and call. Welcome back to Real Life. We are wrapping up today on our topic, drowning in debt. With us is Luis Acevedo, who is getting his debt makeover courtesy of DebtSmart.com, and Scott Bilker. Scott, we want to point out to our viewing audience that your DebtSmart newsletter is available online at www.debtsmart.com. Okay, Luis, we want to go back to some of your particulars here. One thing you were saying during break, Scott, is it is possible sometimes, and you got a notice about this, to extend your student loan. If you have a 15-year payoff or a 10-year payoff, you could extend it to as much as a 30-year payoff.
Right, yes, which is a great option because, especially in this case, he wants to get all his payments down. You know, a lot of experts are going to say yes, but it's going to increase the cost overall, and it will. but he still has to live and pay for utilities and food and his daughter and his life.
Right.
He's going to have more money in the future. We just want to become efficient. And when you said you got that letter, what did it give you an option for like 30 years?
For 30 years.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. Definitely follow up on it. You still have that, right?
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Now you also have an IRS problem.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I took out some money from my 401k at one time, and then hit me with a very large fee.
Right, the penalties are huge.
Almost $10,000.
Oh dear.
Yes.
So that's not a good thing to do in general, right, Scott?
Yeah, that's a problem. But I think, you know, you can contact the IRS and work something out. Now, you mentioned to me they had worked something out, but that went by the wayside.
Yes, they have a payment plan, but still.
Okay, and in many of these cases, really, you have to be proactive as the one with the debt. You have to go talk to the banks, go talk to the credit card companies, talk to the IRS even, right? And and manage your communication so that you keep a list of paperwork on everything you've done.
Very good point. Yeah, always keep notes on everything. When I talk to people now on my credit cards, I write down the date, the time, the person, everything. Because you never know when you're going to need to reference that. I've had many times they tell me, no, we never said that.
Right.
And I said, well, do you remember Ben who was working at 5 o'clock Eastern time on the 24th?
Right.
And,
so keep very detailed notes.
Absolutely.
Now, one last strategy when you're trying to manage your debt, overwhelming debt, is to try to make more money.
Yes.
Now, ultimately, Lewis will be doing that because he's getting his PhD. But in the interim, Scott, some of the things that Lewis and other folks can do to make some extra bucks.
Well, in general, a lot of people can look to selling things online. I have several friends.
We love eBay. You love eBay?
I definitely do. I have a friend of mine who sells collectibles. He buys them wholesale, and he sells them at eBay. And he's doing very well with that, so that's an option.
So that's one way. Sell your stuff. Also, second job.
Yes, second job. In Lewis's case, he can look into tutoring SAT review programs. I did that when I was in college, and that was like 10 years ago, and I got paid $15 an hour to do that.
Okay, so some extra bucks can be coming in. Lewis, we wish you well on your debt makeover. We would like to have you back in a couple of months and just see how you're doing and celebrate all the graduations, PhDs, etc. Thank you, Scott Bilker. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.